Good evening, everyone. This is the March 24th, 2021 meeting of the Babylon Town Board. It is 6 o'clock on the 24th. So if you're watching this live now, you can click on the link on our YouTube channel and request to speak if you want to address the board on either of the two public hearings scheduled for this evening or any of the items listed. We have a short agenda because this meeting was scheduled just for the purposes of the public hearings on the Grand Canal Boat Berth District and a rezone application in the hamlet of Copeg. So if you're interested in addressing the board, please click the link. You'll get sent to our public information office and they'll get you in to speak to the board. If you're watching this at a future date, you can still click the link and you can still submit comments, questions, or concerns by way of the link. And one of us will get back to you. So with that, I'm going to ask everyone to please rise for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence, and I'd ask that you keep in your thoughts and prayers the brave servicemen and women serving our country, both here and abroad, as well as those in our town who are still working as first responders and healthcare professionals in the COVID-19 pandemic, and particularly those families in our town who are either having a loved one suffer from COVID-19 or who's passed away from COVID-19. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, would the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Mineta. Councilman Martinez.
Here.
Councilman McSweeney.
Here.
Councilman Gregory.
Here.
Supervisor Schaefer.
And I am here. So all five are present. Just by way of information, again, we're going to do two public hearings. We also have an agenda, so if you're watching now, you can click on the link and sign up if you'd like to address the board on either of the public hearings or on the agenda items, as well as an open portion when you can address the board on any matters that are not on tonight's agenda. So we're going to go into the public hearing, the first public hearing, which is a public hearing amending Chapter 213 of the Babylon Town Code, Grand Canal Boat Berth District. I understand we have our first speaker in, who is Kathy Gullo. Kathy?
Joining now.
Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Kathy.
I'm
Hey,
sorry. Here I am.
There you are. Good
Here I
evening,
am.
Kathy. Just state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Kathy Gallo, 290 West Riviera Drive, Lindenhurst.
Great. Go ahead, Kath.
Hi, Rich. Hi, gang.
Good evening.
I'm still concerned about this new code with the sheds. Even though you're trying to keep them at 100 square feet, it seems that I still feel that anyone who needs storage can do that with a dock box, a lower, so you're not blocking your neighbor's view. We just don't want it to look like, Shed City on these small properties. We believe they should be open and clean, just like a front yard. And a storage dock box is, 3 feet, 4 feet high is plenty high enough. And, I'm sticking to my guns on that one. Okay. And the other thing is the derelict boats. Loving that we're getting rid of them. But I was hoping that the boats that have been here for, 16, 17, 20 years, they're not getting 3 more years. That's one of our worries.
Got it. So you want those to be dealt with right away?
Yeah, right away.
Okay.
3 more years of them, and
yep.
They have trees growing out of them.
Yep. Okay. Good point. Anything else?
I think we're pretty happy with the rest of what's going on.
Great. So yeah, we're not going to take action on this tonight. We're just going to accept the comments again, and then we'll get back to everybody once again. And I want to thank you, Kathy, because I know you've put up with a lot of grief as a result of this, but I wanted to make it clear to anybody who's watching that this initiative was based on my actions as the town supervisor, working with staff and making the presentation to the town board. Kathy or any of her fellow civic members did not initiate this. They did not demand this. They did not want to target anyone in particular. All they wanted from their perspective, because they live in the community, is to have a community that people could be proud of, and that those who ignored past actions or did whatever they wanted on these properties, that was on us as the town government to deal with. And so we are dealing with it. So if anybody's angry with anybody, they can be angry with me, and not be angry with Kathy or any of her fellow civic members who are just trying to do the right thing by the community.
Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome. Who's our next speaker, Kev?
Next up, we have Anthony Servillo, and add him now.
Okay, great. Hey, Anthony. Just unmute your self. Anthony, you there? Okay, there he is. Just unmute yourself, Ant. There you go.
All right, you can hear me?
Yes, yeah, just state your name and address for the record.
Anthony Servillo, 274 West Riviera Drive.
Great, thank you.
Again, how's everybody doing? I
Doing-
hope you're feeling better.
Yes, thank you.
Anyway, again, with the sheds and the boats, as Kathy just stated, and I'm sure everybody else will. Rich, my understanding is the original deed was sent to the town
Yes,
from where it stated, the code, which is the code now.
yep,
You have to be, 40 feet from the road. You need a primary dwelling before you could have a shed.
Mhm.
And yet, you're changing that to allow sheds to be put on the property.
Well, we're gonna send you information. So we did research on the original deed, and those covenants and restrictions expired sometime in the 40s. But we're gonna send that information over to the Civic because we've been doing the title searches on the property. So Mary Cascone in particular has been very helpful on this point, and she did a lot of her own research as well. So we'll send that over to John and to the board members of the Civic so we can show you exactly what the status of that was that you had sent us originally.
All right, but also, Rich, isn't the existing town code where you need a primary dwelling before you can put a shed on the property? And it has to be so many feet from the road.
Mhm.
Now, this is going to change that code.
Yeah, this is creating a special zoning district for these parcels.
Right. Now, for what reason would the town want to do that outside of worrying about the existing sheds that are there? Which are, most of them, if they kept them up, it would still be a problem, but half of them are falling apart.
Mhm.
But my question is, why would the town even want to initiate this to allow sheds?
Well, this is based on all the input that we've received.
Rich, most of the input that I know that the town has received was they didn't want sheds.
Right.
So I was just curious why the town would try to initiate a code change to allow it.
Well, that's why we're having the public hearing.
Right, okay. And also the boats, as Kathy stated, and
Yep.
also the cars parked on the properties.
Mhm.
Does anybody drive up and down in this area, or inspect this? There's cars parked on a property now. And I think it's causing a problem with the bulkhead. You know, it puts undue weight on the end. And it just doesn't make sense.
Yep, and the goal is to have the code in place, and then we can begin working with each of the property owners to bring them into compliance.
Okay, and is there any time frame on this?
We'd like to have it done by May.
Okay,
Yeah, we'd like to have something adopted. We're having this public hearing tonight. We're going to gather all the additional input. We'll review it. We'll send it back out to everybody, and then we'll have a final review of what we're going to do.
okay, and again, the maintenance of the sheds.
Yep.
I'm sure.
That's included under our general maintenance code.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Anthony.
All right.
Okay, who's next, Kev?
John Voight is being added now.
Great, thank you.
Can everybody see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, John, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing?
Very good. Just state your name and address, please.
Sure. John Vogt, West Lido Promenade,
What number on West Lido?
264.
Great. Okay, go ahead, John.
Hey, thanks for the explanation you had there, Rich, on some of that. I was going to I'll give a brief introduction about basically how we got where we are tonight. There was a civic association down here, if you recall, 20, 30 years ago, whatever, and it collapsed for whatever reason, lack of money for taxes or something to that effect. Then when the neighbors came to me, wanted me to start it up, and I said, well, why did it collapse? And of course, when you hear money, you realize it wasn't really a strong organization. They didn't have the proper safeguards in place. And so it's, someone took the $10 and that's the end of it. So I said, well, what's your purpose with the civic? And a few people said to me, the beaches. I said, well, I would be the first person to tell you, you don't want them as a civic. You don't want property. You don't want the liability. You don't want to be involved. Then at about the same time, Balone was working on a deal trying to buy the marina, and he got the beaches back from Suffolk County, and it was going to be part of a grandiose plan. For whatever reason, Terry wouldn't sell, and that deal fell apart. And then the beaches were put up and auctioned off, which was, in my opinion, it was fine as long as they did what they were supposed to do. And on the Mary Walsh on the east side put up a partial bulkhead which protected her beach. The guy that bought our side, the name will be not mentioned, didn't do it, and all that sand washed into the Grand Canal, and that's creating problems now. But during that time, I figured, let me bother myself enough and go to town hall and ask what the status of the beaches are. And I went to the legal department. Now we're going back about 20 years. And that's when, I was informed, well, the county took them over, then the town, and that's about the time Balone was working on his plan. And somebody, and I can't tell you who, in town, in the legal department told me, said, well, those waterfront properties aren't supposed to be sold separate from the houses. I said, well, I don't know anything about that. I don't own one, and I don't know. He said, well, they're not supposed to be. I said, well, they are. What can I tell you? So I started looking into the property and realized we're in the Zone C, looked at the rules on Zone C, and said, no, the sheds don't even belong on those properties. You can't build them on Zone C as per town code. So personally, as a private citizen, not a civic, not anybody, private citizen, I sent information to Citizen Services several times with addresses, identifying where the shed was, be it across the street or whatever, because that property wasn't necessarily owned by the house across the street. And that happened. I did that several times throughout the years, and nothing was ever done about it. That till I know, because there's no one gets back to you on that. So now we get the Civic Association going. I don't want to bore you with this. Long story short, we get the Civic Association going, and we have neighbors that don't necessarily live on the Grand Canal. They would come up and they would ask about the waterfront properties, and we tell everybody, look, we're not an enforcement entity. If people come to me with problems, I direct them towards either the online form, the phone number, or Citizen Services directly to put in their complaints. And they can do that as a private citizen. Rich, in the past, I have put in complaints as a private citizen, not the civic. All right. I again, I didn't want the Civic to be viewed as, we are the big bad guy in the neighborhood. We're trying to address some homeowners' concerns that suffered from Sandy. We're just trying to clean the area up, make it look nice. That was really our total mission statement. So again, with the people asking about the sheds, I said, well, let's look into that again. And then we started pushing that, well, they shouldn't be there. Let's get rid of them because it's starting to look like a shanty town. Since then, I wish my other computer didn't die. I could probably pull out the paperwork that where we had counted sheds. Since then, like I say, a ton of sheds have grown overnight. They know they're not legal because they put up a concrete pad, then they come in the middle of the night, they drop off a completed shed, and then they run. I guess from then, I forget the number we have, but tons of them. There's more concrete pads already in. And I guess they're waiting for the town's approval on this. So what we expect to see by the end of the summer, this gets passed, you'll just have Shed City all the way down the canal on either side. And it's unfortunate. The guy that's, Angelo Costanza is doing a fantastic job at the marina. We're working on the West Beach to make that a living shoreline with a kayak launch. And it's going to become a part of the Blue Trail for Suffolk County for kayakers. There's some other things we're trying to do. So again, trying to enhance it. And then, like I say, people come in and they look and they say, well, what's all this about? So, well, what can you tell you? Like Kathy Golo said, she's got waterfront property. She's a big time boater. Everything she needs for her boats are kept in a couple of small deck boxes that are lower than the height of the fence. Looks attractive. Everything you need is right there. The people that are putting the sheds are starting to empty out their garage, the basement, their backyard, or if they live in another town, things that they really don't need to go boating, and they're dragging them over. Like we point out before, there's a shed with an air conditioner in it. And if I can get pictures, which I will try this summer, of people living in there on the weekend. That's certain parts of the country that's allowed. I don't think that's allowed on the Grand Canal. So again, that's where we're against the sheds. I know you said you're going to get us some information on the deeds, because somebody gave us a deed of 1925, and it basically mirrors current town code for Zone C properties. It's just not spelled out that way. So that's why we're against that. I know there's even some of the neighbors that do live here that have sheds.
John,
they'd be unhappy. But
John, can I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
You would be in favor with what Kathy said about the deck boxes?
Oh, definitely so. Yes.
She called them. Yep.
Yeah, deck boxes, anything, even they sell those Rubbermaid sheds that are about 3 foot or maybe 4 foot in height. They're perfect. I got one of those in the backyard, holds a lot of stuff.
So those would be something suitable for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Then, so that's it on the sheds. Everything else, like Kathy even pointed out, that we're pretty much in favor of it. The other issue that we had, and she touched on it, was the 3-year limit on boats out of the water. And here's the problem we have with that. We would like to see it 6 months only. Off season, people store boats on those properties. That's wonderful. Season starts, they clean them up, they put them in the water. Now you have a boat on the property, you have to do a motor job or something to it after the 6 months come around, April, whatever. You go to the town, you get a special exception for that summer that your boat's going to be on land. And then when code enforcement comes around, they see a boat there, they check, so, okay, she's got permission, no problem, we move on. The other thing, and someone already told us, I don't know who it is, Kathy would have to tell you, that says, I'll just keep re-registering my boat every 3 years and leave it there.
Right.
So, because then we said, well, how is it going to be enforced? You're going to come by and put a piece of chalk on the boat like they do with tires when you overstay your welcome.
Right.
It's a tough one, and code enforcement doesn't have time to go around and say, okay, this is July 6th, the boat's here, come back September 6th, it's still here. It's a tough one. So if it was the 6-month deal, it would just show itself come the boating season, the boat's still there, and it'd be easy enough to check if they have permission to keep it during the boating season. And again, there are people, be it a sickness, be it the boat needs work or something, that they need to do work. Other than that, if they need longer and it needs to go someplace else, they can get the boat on a trailer and move it to a yard, move it to their backyard, or move it somewhere else. My boats I kept on my property. Well, I don't have a waterfront property. I got in the front, I got in the back, but everything was stored here so I could do work and big work. I just moved it to Marina and they did it. So
Okay, great.
that's all. Other than that, like I say, appreciate the time, everybody.
Yeah, we
Sorry.
appreciate the input on those 2 points. Thank you, John.
All right, gentlemen, everybody, ladies, gentlemen, have a good night.
Thank you too. Kev, who's up next?
Adding Joseph Calandrino right now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm here.
Hey, Joe. Good
How
evening.
you doing?
Good, Joe. Just state your name and address for the record.
Sure, Joseph Calandrino, 70 East Kissimmee Road, Lindenhurst.
Great. Go ahead, Joe.
Thanks for, give me the time and to
Sure.
be heard. I just want to go over a few things. One of the things, everything I pretty much read, I was in agreement with. A couple things. The 50% of the property being covered by non-pervious. I have a small situation with. When I purchased my property, there was stone down. When we lifted the stone up, under the stone was concrete that was in disrepair. I was tripping over it constantly in the stone. So we tore it up, put down brand new pavers without changing the footprint that was there since I was a kid back in the 60s. So that's the way it was. They had only put stone on top of it. But what I did in difference is I had drains put into the stone, into the stone itself. I had 2 drains put in, and I had a separate piece put on the side with stones. So I literally get virtually no runoff from rainwater into the canal. It drains into these 2 drains, goes into tanks below it, which is surrounded by stone. So I think, as much as I understand what the 50% rule is, because I'm more like 2/3, I think it should be also worded that as long as you have the drainage, the proper drainage to not allow anything to run into the canals, or a minimal amount into the canals, minimal amount into the streets, that should be looked as on an individual basis, and say, okay, well, this isn't too bad, and we're okay with that.
Yep, that was a good point that you brought up earlier, Joe.
Thanks, Rich. And then my second thing is the fencing. When I put my fencing up, the lots to the north of me, the 2 lots are just as it's been stated before, they've been using it as a dumping ground. I mean, it's garbage there. Somebody cut a boat in half. They were trying to make a bar out of it. I mean, it just looks like hell.
This is
So I tried to follow the
Joe.
town. I'm sorry?
Joe, this is next door to your property?
Yeah, directly next door to my property.
Okay.
So-
Could you
I'm
just
sorry?
give us the location?
Yeah, at the end of Kissimmee Road
Okay.
on the east side, just one. As a matter of fact, directly at the end of Kissimmee Road, you'll see my dock is an American flag flying, and you'll see the pavers. So it's just north of that. You can't miss it. I mean,
Okay.
it's absolutely horrible.
Yep. We'll
So
send
I
someone
followed
out
the town. I'm sorry, Rich?
We'll send someone out there. Thank you.
Thanks, bud. Thank you. I followed the town code, and I went with the fencing on the side, where it said, basically the town code said, use a 4-foot fence in the front, open slats, and you can go with a solid fence in the back of your property and on the sides. So that's what I followed. And it was A, for privacy, and B, so I didn't have to see what was around me. But in no way, shape, or form does that impede on someone driving past the front of my property and being able to see the canal. It just prevents me from seeing the garbage that might be on the dock to the north of me, which is absolutely horrible. So that's why I went with that. So with those 2 conditions, I just wanted to bring up those 2 things. I think they're pretty important.
Okay.
And listening to everybody else, I got to bring up something else. My parents purchased this house in 1958. Not all the deeded property on the Grand Canal was purchased by the houses directly across the street. So my parents bought literally around the block on the corner of Marine back in 1958. We live on Kissimmee, 2 houses in from the water. So we're not directly across the street. I just want to get that out there and make that known.
Sure.
And secondly, they were some of the original members of the Civic Association. My mom was a treasurer. My father was an attendee. And yes, the beaches, whomever mentioned that before, the beaches are what truly hurt the Civic Association. It wasn't that they weren't strong. It wasn't that they didn't have the finances, but they didn't have the finances to maintain the beaches. So, what had to happen to the beaches had to happen. That's really pretty much it. We've gone over, I'm not going to bring up the issue with the sheds. I think that everybody has their own need for a shed, whether you're putting a small box, if that's your needs. I don't fish personally, but I see a lot of fishermen bringing their poles and their nets. Well, they're not going to fit that in a 2x3 box or a 2x4 box. So as long as, my thing, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, as long as you keep your dock, your house, your property in good repair and good to look at, we should limit the amount of restrictions we're putting on people. And because it's getting crazy. So yeah, I do agree. Listen, there's sheds that are, like I said before, that it sounds of townhouses. They're monstrous. Shouldn't be. But however, the ones that are there, they should be in good repair. I don't care. And it's not only a shed. I'm talking about everything that's on a dock. I'm talking about a gazebo. I'm talking about even those small containers that are on the ground, because they can get up and float away during a storm and end up in a canal. And then I here to hit it with my gear case and I'm out $4,000 or $5,000. And everything should be secured. My shed on my property is secured with U-bolts to the back. So even with the storm, I have a rope that I can put over the top from pole to pole. I've taken every possible precaution because I was here during Hurricane Sandy, here for Hurricane Gloria, been here for all of it. If people take the proper precautions, maintain their property, I say we limit the amount of restrictions we're putting on them. That's
Great.
all I got to say. I can't thank you all for listening to me. You guys have a wonderful night.
You too. Thank you,
Rick,
Joe.
OJ Senior, take care, everyone. Dwayne, the whole crew. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, you too.
All right, thank you.
Kev, do you have any other speakers?
That's it on this public hearing.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing, reserve decision, second by Councilman Martinez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This hearing is closed. Decision is reserved. Second public hearing is public hearing on the rezoning application of Gaetano Pinello for the premises identified by Suffolk County Tax Map Number 0100-193-04-55, 56, 57, and 58, located on the northwest corner of Montauk Highway and Hawkins Boulevard, Copeg. The way this works is we allow the applicant or his or her representative to make a brief presentation on what the request is for, and then we'll open it up to any speakers who have signed up, and then we can give the applicant the opportunity to respond to any questions or comments that come up. So I believe we have the applicant's attorney, Nicole Blanda.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, good evening, Nicole. Just state your appearance for the record.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor and members of the town board. For the record, my name is Nicole Blanda, and I'm an attorney at Bizzell, Blanda, and Visconti with offices at 535 Broad Hollow Road in Melville.
Great. Thanks, Nicole.
Am I able to screen share, Mr. Supervisor? Is that all right?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Make it easy for us. Yep.
Okay. Let's see if I can do this.
Okay. Usually I need
What I'm trying to
I need my 9-year-old nephew to help me with screen sharing. So.
All right, let's see. No. Can everybody see this?
Just black.
It's just black.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm seeing a site plan. So if you're telling me it's just black, then I'll skip it.
Does anyone else see it?
No, it's black. It should give you a bunch of options on what to share, and you're selecting the right program that's open.
I thought I was, but
We'll try it one more time.
how is it now?
You're sharing your
No.
Chrome window. Is that where it is? There it is. Yep, we have
There
it.
you go.
See it? Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, so I'm here on behalf of the applicant and property owner regarding this proposed change of zone for 4 commercial parcels from Business E to MR. So what we're looking at right here is everything that you see in white that I'm going over with my icon is what we're going to call phase 1. And so this part of the site was previously approved. It was rezoned to MR back in December of 2018, and it has all its approvals and it's presently under construction. That was 16 one-bedroom units. What we're proposing tonight is to rezone this portion that I'm going over to multi-res for 12 one-bedroom units, all to be comprised within this 2-story, roughly 5,000 square foot footprint building that would be in line with what's being constructed immediately to the west. And as you can see here, the shaded area would be parking for this building as well. But the site would have cross access. We're proposing to use the curb cut that exists on Montauk Highway, and that was approved by the DOT. There's another curb cut already on Hawkins that was approved as part of the other site plan. These are 4 tax lot parcels that are zoned commercial. Previously, the board, I'm sure, will recall that the trifecta bar was in this corner, which is the northwest corner of Hawkins and Montauk. And the bar was quite close to the street. It was an eyesore and it had many complaints and issues over the years. What we're proposing here is this would be pretty open. You could see it's a grass area, so there's great visibility on the corner, and there would be attractive landscaping installed on this corner to really open it up and make it aesthetically pleasing. All the lighting would be dark sky compliant. Drainage would be contained on site between drainage, leaching vaults, and permeable pavers. We have the requisite parking with the exception of 1 space. We are short 1 space because the town DEC wanted us to have an extra refuse enclosure. You could see right here with my arrow, there's a 10 by 10. So that's really the only parking space that we lost. Otherwise, we do meet the parking requirement from the town. You can also see that there's going to be street trees installed and other additional landscaping along Montauk Highway to make it attractive. The town DEC reviewed all the FEMA requirements, and the buildings comply with 2020 building codes and FEMA requirements as well. There are no basements on this site. These are true 1-bedrooms, meaning that if there's a kitchen, there's the open living room, bathroom, washer, dryer, and then 1 bedroom. There's no den or any other additional room. The units are each approximately 850 square feet. Again, it's been reviewed by the planning department and the various departments in the town. And I did submit a petition. I'm not sure why. Oh, here we go. Let me start my video again. Here I am.
Yep,
Okay.
we made that petition part of the record.
Perfect. So we did have some of the surrounding neighbors that were in support sign a petition. And, we're here tonight to answer any questions that the board members might have or that any members of the community might have as well.
Great. I don't know if any of the board members have questions now, or else we can go right to the speakers.
Just a quick question. Who's the developer?
Councilman Gregory?
Sure. So the developer is, I call him Tommy. It's Gaetano Pinello, but it's Tommy Pinello. And he is, so the rest of the site that's under construction, that's his site as well. So it's the same builder.
Oh,
Great. Kev, you want to go to the speakers?
Yep, adding the first speaker, Michelle Insigno now.
Okay.
Michelle, your line's been open. You just have to
Hey.
unmute yourself. There you go.
Michelle,
Hi, guys. How's everybody doing?
we are doing well. Why don't you just state your name and address for the record?
Okay, sure. It's Michelle Insinger. My address is 94 Venetian Prom in Lindenhurst.
Great. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, sorry, my phone's going nuts. again, this is the same conversation that we've had multiple times over the last couple of years regarding the various different apartments going up in a very short distance from each other. We are all well aware of specific issues with one on Baylon. We're also aware of the possibility of apartments also diagonally across the street from this on Doges. So I'm speaking for the community because they are, as you've heard before and as we've seen on our community pages, not exactly thrilled with all the amounts of apartments in a very short, compact area. Last week, Newsday, now I know you're saying this is a one true bedroom, and I get that, but last week Newsday did a whole piece on our schools in Copeg because they're still not open full time. In fact, they don't even expect anything to happen on that level until September. So that's part of an issue. We will also, as you know, we sent out a letter. I'm sorry, my husband's going to drive me nuts. We also sent out a letter regarding moratoriums on apartments because, which was also in Newsday, because we want to see if this need is actually there, especially, hello? Especially
hello.
after this, while we're in this pandemic, how much of a need for apartments are actually there. We've seen people come out to Long Island looking for homes, not apartments, especially small apartments. So that's another question that we're bringing. Are we actually serving the community with needs with other people that are coming here because they're looking for open space and things to that effect? I don't know if you also saw on Friday, New York Times, Forbes magazine, a whole bunch of other news articles came out. And that had a lot to do with FEMA's Risk 2.0. The reason why is because, again, we've been working with Chuck Schumer. We brought to Chuck our concerns regarding Risk 2.0 because prices for flood insurance were due to go up on April 1st and be implemented on October 1st. We asked Chuck, just like we did in 2019, to put this off again, especially again during a pandemic, because none of our families, not even just in Long Island, but across the country, can afford massive increases, and we don't really have a full understanding on FEMA's Risk 2.0. We are also working with Congresswoman Kathleen Rice, who's writing legislation on this right now for us so that we can get more of a understanding of how this would affect everyone, and that's not just single families, but that's also multi-family homes and or residential apartment buildings. So we are still working on that, and we do have our majority leader of the United States Senate on our side, which is fantastic. But again, we are speaking on allowing building in a flood zone, especially after a disaster that we're still not even fully recuperated from. And we are also speaking with him on a bigger level on, I guess the best way to put it, how do we de-incentivize communities or municipalities from building in flood zones, because we know part of the Biden administration is to start preserving open land. So here we are working on a living shoreline, and we're not even that far away, and we're building multifamily apartments once again in a flood zone. So, you know, from my organization, I have issues with that. So that is what I'm speaking about. The fact that we feel that we do have an overload of apartments and we don't know how necessary they all are at this particular point in time, especially in a pandemic. All these projects were started prior to that. And we also don't appreciate all this building in flood zones in our area, especially when we're now in a new administration who is literally working with us on this very, very thing. So that is exactly what my issues are regarding why I would oppose this. And I think it's something that should really be thought out. We need more open space. There is a lake there. It would have been nice. We are talking to the federal government on how do we get to preserve this open space when they're in flood zones and flood plains to serve the community in a whole nother way, which is exactly projects that we are working on at the end of our Grand Canal. So that's what we're looking at, and how to actually make all of this more cohesive together, because it seems so decompartmentalized and against what we're doing completely. So that's just basically what I wanted to say, and I appreciate you guys all listening. Again, it's not necessarily against a project per se. It's just, do we need this project, and do we need it in that spot?
Got it. Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, guys.
Kev, who's the next speaker?
I'm adding Frank Curtin on the line.
Okay.
Frank, your line's open. You can unmute yourself by dialing *6.
Hey, good evening, Frank.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Hi, Commissioner, Supervisor. This is Frank Curtin, 105 Hawkins Boulevard, Copaig.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, now, good to talk to you again.
Sure.
Yeah, there seems to be some interest from people living out of the area. I'm hearing buzzing. People living out of the area that seem to want to come in here and tell the residents of this area how they should be living and what they should do. I would like to speak for myself, a resident of about 35 years, and I'd like to speak for my neighbors. And I have a little bit of a prelude here to tell you, if you'll be patient with me. It's not very pleasant, so I just ask you to hang in with me if you can.
Absolutely.
We'll start with the bar. Okay, thank you. The bar was on the corner of Montauk Highway and Hawkins Boulevard. And there was a restaurant, Mason Olay. It must be gone about 10 years. It went out of business. Mason Olay had a big parking lot. A car company brought in hundreds of cars into this parking lot where they worked on them, they stored them, and we had car alarms going off day and night. I live on Bergen Court, which is right across from this parking lot. The bar on the corner of Montauk Highway is open till I have this here. Just let me get my. Okay, it's open till 4 in the morning or even later. I'm going to have to read a little bit here from my writings. Okay. 4 in the morning. They brought in loud music. They brought in live bands and live music, which was played all night into the early hours of the morning. It could be heard all over the neighborhood. Cars were coming from everywhere. They were parking everywhere. The Bergen Court was a parking lot for the bar. There were mobs of people who would then come also from all over. They would hang out on the street, making all kinds of noises and disturbances, and they even had parties, drinking parties in their car. Okay. I'm coming. Okay. The bar was known for drug dealing. Even a shooting took place in there. Police were constantly called. Police would go into the bar and have the illegally parking patrons get out and move their cars from the illegally parked spots. The bar was raided and closed down by the town code at least twice, but the bar always managed to open up again. When they closed it down, they arrested many with outstanding warrants. Okay, hang on. Nights when police were unable to come because they were occupied, I would go out to the corner of Hawkins Boulevard and Bergen Court, and keep the cars from coming into the Bergen Point dead end. Bergen Court dead end. I would be out till 1, 2 in the morning, but I wouldn't be sleeping anyhow, so it really didn't matter. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Frank, could I just ask
Yes.
you a question?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Frank, so I'm assuming that you're in favor of this application?
I'm,
Yes, you're in favor.
yes, of course.
Yep, I just wanted to clarify because I know that you're recounting for us some of the issues that you and your neighbors had experienced when the.
Yes, that's what yes, that's correct. Yes, yes, sir.
I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure it was on the record so that the board understood where you were coming from.
Yes, yes, very much. We're very much in favor of the development of the apartments. Now, as far as stores, they're asking for stores. There's no shortage of stores. We have several stores right across the street. They open and close. They
Well,
come and go.
Frank, I think this application is just for residents, for a multi-res. It's a 2-story multi-res. You would call it the second phase of this development. The first phase is already under construction and been approved, and this would be the second phase. So there won't be any retail or any stores in this as part of this development.
Oh, well, when I was at the last hearing, there were several people who had asked the board that they wanted stores. They wanted stores there. That's what I'm concerned about.
Yep. No. So this is a rezone request to the town board. So that whatever board meeting you probably attended, a planning board meeting, and
yes,
yeah, and this application is for straight residents. I think, what is it, 12 additional units?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So no, there's no, the applicant is proceeding as he had originally submitted.
So then they will go ahead with the 12 units. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what we're doing is we're having a public hearing now before the town board. So we're taking all the comments, and then this board will make a decision as to whether or not to grant the rezone of the 4 parcels involved. And if we do grant that, then they would be proceeding with their development. So we appreciate your comments.
Well, what you're saying is this still could stay commercial property out there.
Only if we turn down the applicant's requests.
Well, that's what I was trying to present here, and that's why I have a few.
Yep, we appreciate it. We've received the petition that you and your neighbors signed, the immediate neighbors to the property. And we've also received your comments, and we're also going to receive a couple of other comments, like we already received Michelle's comments, and I think we have one other speaker who's signed up for tonight.
Well, there were just some comments made previously that I'd like to respond. I mean, we do need apartments. We are in need of good. That's why we have so many illegal apartments, that we don't have good quality apartments. We have people coming in from the city, and we need apartments, and that's very important, I think.
Yep, and we appreciate that. All right.
Yes, sir. Well, then there'll be
your
another hearing.
Tell your beautiful bride we said hello.
Okay, but we still don't know what the settlement is here. This was to settle whether it's going to be commercial or residential, right?
Correct. Well, we have to have the public hearing, which we're conducting tonight, and then the board will close the public hearing, and then we'll make a decision at a future board meeting.
Then there'll be another board meeting on this issue?
No. We'll make a decision based on the input that we received tonight. So we'll be back in touch with you to let you know the decision.
Okay, well, then I can't finish what I had to say.
No, you can't.
Is that right?
But we appreciate your comments. We understand that you're in favor of this, and you've given some good reasons why you're in favor of it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Frank.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank
Okay.
you.
Kev, who's next?
Adding Catherine Malay now.
Okay.
I think this is.
Hi, do we have Catherine Malay?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Could you just Catherine, could you just state your name and address?
Sure. Good evening, town board members. My name is Catherine Millay, and my address is 55 Taylor Avenue, Copiague, New York, 11726.
Great. Okay, go ahead, Catherine. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I want to thank you guys for listening to my opinions today. First off, I would like to continue based off on Mr. Curtin's concern on various issues, most of all revolving the bar. As we all know, there have been numerous complaints, and growing up, being around the area, the bar has really affected my life in a lot of ways, and a lot of young adults and millennials, in one various way. It was always, known for having like notorious parties, and there were rumors, which were all basically true, about drug trades, and basically a lot of young adults were always drawn into that bar, and it took away a lot from the youth of the community. They were always involved in drug dealing or drinking, illegal stuff. So that bar has always been, on a negative impact of a lot of youth lives. So, we're very happy, that that's gone. There was always a lot of accident revolving that area because the bar had no proper parking. So there was like a lot of parking on the sides of the road and people getting drunk, going into the, middle of the highway. There was a lot of accidents revolving that particular area. So as a resident of Copiague, and after discussing with a lot of other members, we're very happy to see the enhancement of the community. As we all know, a community is enhanced by its residents. And to see that someone's actually taking interest to enhance the neighborhood, making it beautiful, making it very, appealing to the eye with all the, the aesthetics of the buildings. It's very good. And in reference to the whole part of having too many apartment buildings, I strongly disagree with that because there could never be too many, especially during this pandemic. Because as we all know, everyone is moving away from the city, because of the whole pandemic situation, and they're, drifting towards Long Island and areas around Long Island. So to avoid having illegal apartments and illegal dwelling, it's very necessary to have apartment buildings, especially legalized apartment buildings for these people to come to. They need to, come down to a place where it's beautiful and, they're happy and they feel safe in a certain community. And, on another note too, as well, in reference to the economy and the school, with all these people coming down, it enhances the economy of the community because, as you all know, within the rent roll that these people will be paying, there's a certain part that is taken out from the tax of that complex that goes to enhance the community. For example, the schools, the school get better, payments from it, and, it enhances the community. So I don't see why we're stopping the progress. I understand everybody's, have a lot of concern about these big, buildings and, they're worried about flood zones and all that, but let's take into consideration all of these things have been thoroughly reviewed by the engineers and, the flood zone community and the architect. So it's not like they're just building apartments based on empty land. There's things that have been, surveyed and, been taken into consideration that it's safe enough to be built on. So I don't see why there's so many negative, comments and so many negativity towards this. I think we should all be happy and join together to enhance our community. That's how we all grow together. So that's all, I had to say. Thank you for listening.
Sure, we appreciate your comments. Thank you. Okay, Kev, do you have any other speakers?
No, that's it.
Okay, Nicole, did you want to add anything before we close the public hearing?
No, Mr. Supervisor, I think everything's been said. Thank you.
Great.
I just have a quick question, just for point of reference from the site plan.
Sure.
The bar that's been mentioned several times, is that where that green space is proposed on the site plan? That large?
Yes. Yes, there is a large landscaped area on that corner.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Great.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll take a motion from Councilman Mineta, seconded by Councilman Gregory to close and reserve. All those in favor? Opposed? This hearing is closed and the decision is reserved. Okay, we'll go
Thank you,
into.
everybody. Have a great night.
Oh, you
Thank
too, Nicole. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We're going to go into today's agenda. and Kev, do we have any speakers who've signed up for today's agenda?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we'll go into today's agenda, and we have Resolution 184.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 185.
I offer resolution 185.
I second.
Those in favor? Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 186.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 187.
I offer 187.
I second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 188.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 189.
I offer 189.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 190.
Offer resolution 190.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 191.
I offer resolution 191.
I second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Mineta,
Yes.
Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
Councilman McSweeney,
Yes.
Councilman Gregory,
Abstain.
Supervisor Schaefer.
Yes. Resolution's approved, 4 votes in favor, 1 abstention, and resolution 192.
Offer resolution 192.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved. That's it for the resolutions. Kev, do we have any speakers for the open portion?
No, we do not.
We do not. So I'll take a motion from Councilman McSweeney, seconded by Councilman Martinez to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.